This is a chess game between Alehkine and played in a chess simultaneous in Holland in October of 1933. Alehkine started out playing e4, and his opponent played e5. And then Alehkine played knight to f3, and they went knight to c6. And then bishop to b5 and d6. And here Alehkine played d4. And Alehkine discusses the idea of bishop to d2, but he said that white would be better, which is knight to bishop 3, knight to bishop 3, bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, and then queen to queen 3. Black played pawn takes pawn. And then Alehkine played queen takes pawn. So, of course, Alehkine says knight takes pawn was good too. And Black plays bishop to queen 2. And Alehkine just exchanges. This is just a simultaneous game, and so Alehkine plays it really simple. Knight to bishop 3, knight to bishop 3, bishop to knight 5. Okay, and Black develops bishop to king 2. And white castles queen side. So white already has a nice space advantage already. And black castles. And white plays pawn to king rook 4. This position has already occurred a long time ago. And in the game that Alehkine knew about, king rook to king 1 was played. This is a sharper move, and so here Black plays pawn to king rook 3. He says it's not to be condemned that he played pawn to king rook 3. Black is not obliged to take the bishop with a pawn, so he can do that only when it would be perfectly safe. White plays here knight to queen 5. And Alehkine says a correct and exactly calculated offer which Black should not accept. Still even more appropriate in order to maintain the tension was first king to knight 1. So according to Alehkine, even king to knight 1 would even be better than this knight to queen 5 move. Black accepts the bishop though. Pawn takes bishop, which Alehkine says, well, that's a mistake. And Alehkine now plays knight takes bishop check. He says, of course not, playing pawn takes pawn, knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, bishop takes pawn check, and he would have sufficient defense. So he takes the bishop check, and queen takes bishop. Okay, now, and now white plays pawn takes pawn. And now black plays knight takes pawn. Also, after the other knight moves, the doubling of the rooks on the rook 5 would prove decisive. And if queen takes pawn, then pawn takes knight, queen takes queen, rook takes queen, bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, king rook to king 1, rook to king knight 4, pawn to king knight 4, and then rook at 4 to king rook 4, followed by mate. Okay, so black plays knight takes pawn. Okay, and Alehkine plays rook to rook 5. Black plays queen to king 3 here. He says if he tried to play the immediate pawn to bishop 4, white would force the win similar to the game. And so black plays queen here to king 3. And Alehkine plays his queen rook to rook 1. And here black plays pawn to bishop 4, hoping to escape everything. After this, black seems to be perfectly safe, since if white plays pawn to knight 6 and queen takes knight pawn and knight to king 5, he would obtain a rook and 2 minor pieces for the queen by playing queen takes rook, rook takes queen, and pawn takes knight. But here, a transportation of moves kind of destroys his opponent. He plays the move knight to king 5. A surprise move whose object is to weaken his opponent's protection on queen 4. As queen takes knight, queen takes queen, pawn to knight 6 loses instantly, black has no choice. So black plays pawn takes knight. And here, Alehkine just plays pawn to knight 6. And this is the whole point. If queen takes knight pawn, then queen to bishop 4 check, and it's making a few moves. Without the preliminary knight to king 5, pawn takes knight, black would still have the defense of pawn to queen 4. This game shows some of the really sharp tactics of Alehkine. Alehkine is incredible at beating almost everybody he plays really, really fast. But his analysis, though, and realizing the difference in the order of the moves became the decisive point in this game. Also, his positional play was at a very, very high level also in this game. So he played a very aggressive line. So this is really a very cool game by Alehkine.